Well, hello, and welcome to Stop Let's Team Up My Legion Adventure, episode 58. And we are going to be covering Adventure Comics 357 and 358. Let's get started with Adventure Comics 357. Okay, Adventure Comics 357, cover dated June 1967. Cover credits: Kurt Swan, George Klein, Joe Letteros. It's a great cover. It is the ghost of Ferro Lad pointing and four Legionnaires: Superboy, Projecta, Sunboy, Cosmic Boy running, Superboy yelling. It can't be Ferro Lad's ghost. He's returned to haunt us, and he's blaming us for his death. And it's got a nice purple background, and the go-go checks, which are very cool. And I'm enjoying that nice Adventure Comics box. Adventure Comics featuring Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. It's great. The name of the story is The Ghost of Ferro Lad. That's a story title. It is a 22-pager. Part 1 is called The Ghost of Ferro Lad. Part 2, The Phantom's Revenge. Credits: editor, plotter Mort Weisinger, plotter, scripter, penciler, layouts only, Jim Shooter, penciler Kurt Swan, inker George Klein, letterer Milton Snap-In. Roll call: Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad, Dual Damsel, Phantom Girl, BrainiacFive, Superboy, Ultra Boy, Sunboy, Mon-El, Lightlass, Princess Projecta, Saturn Girl. Supporting characters: Who and Uwa and Paul Korn, that is Cosmic Boy's mom, dad, and little brother Paul. The villain is a renegade controller. More stuff about the Sun Eater. Let's get to the synopsis. Ooh, this is a beast of a synopsis. The four Legionnaires who fought alongside Ferro Lad against the Sun Eater, Superboy, Cosmic Boy, Sunboy, and Princess Projecta, place a wreath at his memorial on Shanghala, the cemetery satellite, then return to Earth, each obsessed with his memory. Meanwhile, a strange object from space pierces the walls of the Legion clubhouse and implants itself in the master control panel. That night, the four heroes battle an unseen foe who causes nearly every object in the clubhouse to attack them. After the barrage ends, a message burned in the wall indicates that Ferro Lad's ghost is haunting them, and BrainiacFive and Saturn Girl, en route to a law enforcement convention on another planet, are summoned back to the clubhouse to hear the news. The ghost reappears to the foursome later that night and attacks, while Brainiac attempts in vain to detect it with his equipment. When Sun Girl tries to sense it with her powers, it shocks her into unconscious. The ghost departs after destroying Ferro Lad's belongings, and BrainiacFive is as perplexed as the others. After putting Saturn Girl in the care of doctors, the other Legionnaires hold a seance, with Princess Projecta as the medium, in an attempt to contact Ferro Lad's ghost. The ghost appears and orders the Legion to disband, which they do. Superboy is about to return to the 20th century when a ray suddenly teleports him before an alien called a Controller, who uses his mental power to hold the Boy of Steel motion. The Controller explains that he had been sent to the Legion's universe as one of a number of his race ordered to police his sector and prevent intergalactic war. His weapon for this task was the Sun Eater, and when other controllers were recalled, he alone refused to return. Instead, he tried to use the Sun Eater to conquer the universe. Because Ferro Lad's sacrifice ruined the scheme, he posed as the dead Legionnaire's ghost and caused the earlier events. As he prepares to destroy Superboy, the Legion's flight ring is activated by an unseen force, summoning his comrades, who arrive to save him. The Controller eludes capture and almost kills the Legionnaires, but suffers the alien equivalent of a heart attack and dies when something unknown frightens him to death. The Legionnaires, their morale restored, prepare to leave and wonder how Superboy could have contacted. One possible answer: Ferro Lad's real ghost, which seems to follow them down the... This is a neat story. I can't remember when I read it last, but it is in my brain. This is a reread after, which is part of the joy, I think. And I hope you're having fun listening to me re-experience these comics. And I hope I'm doing them justice. I know I'm not really diving deep unless something really strikes my fancy. But it's all about the pure joy of the reading of a comic. And that's what this podcast, the art's amazing. Again, Kurt Swan, George Klein, over top of Jim Shooter's layouts. I will give him a little credit. I really think this is mostly Kurt, but that's just... Shambhala's cool. We see it. We see the rock, all the tombstones, all the casket rockets, and them flying back. And this is like the Next Generation episode called The Light, where Deanna gets pregnant, the little alien entity comes through the ship, but that happens on more than one Star Trek episode, doesn't it? But it happens here. I do love this old clubhouse, and I do love how Swan draws some of the stuff and all the computer panels. I mean, in the memorial room. We get to see Cosmic Boy's folks and his little brother, who will eventually become a member of the Legion, which is very cool. He has nightmares. Sunboy says he's had some. Projecta, they've all been affected by it, and they run into Ferro Lad's memorial room, and they're just being pummeled by machinery, and it explodes. And that, what I like is the etch in the wall says this: each time I come, I get stronger. First as a thought, then as a dream, now as a force. Soon I will drive you out. And with the symbol for iron, the circle. And that's when BrainiacFive and Saturn Girl come back. Another fabulous rocket ship. We only see the boo-boo. Brainiac being the skeptical scientist. Good for you. Good for you, Brainy. Good for you. I think that's great. Saturn Girl will get knocked out. Then we go to Chapter 2, The Phantom's Revenge, and they plan to have the seance. Orlando has magic. This is the first time it's kind of mentioned. And, well, we know there's witches because her... Oh, no, that's... Sorry, wrong planet. It's Dreamgirls. Oops. But Orlando does have witches. It's very kind of medieval in some ways, and we'll see that later. And then the ghost appears. It's really cool. This is... I bet as a kid reading this, going, is this ghost? Is this ghost? And you see the other Legionnaires often mentioned. And this is the first time we see a controller. And the controllers they come back. They're one of the big bads of the Legion when you want a bigger and badder big bad. And he shows us, and we get 3 pages of his history, which is cool. Come on, miss all this kind of wordy stuff. Sorry, I do. I think the controller's a neat design. It's kind of creepy, even with I don't know if the helmets that he's wearing. I'll put up some images from this comic when I post it. I'm recording this the day before it'll go up, unlike other days, because I just have time in the house to myself. But it's a great story. I like it. It's really a simple story. Beautiful art. Well-paced. Well-told. Simple 30-minute read, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. Is it a masterpiece? No, but it's really good. And I'm going to say something in advance. Maybe a next one. Let's move on to Adventure Comics 358. So, Adventure Comics 358, cover dated July 1967. Cover credits: Kurt Swan, George Klein, Milton Snapin. It's got a great cover. It has got the villain, who is called the Hunter. And he is a poor man's Craven. He is bald, got an orange mustache, an eye patch, and dressed somewhat like a Viking with some weird hipster jewelry. And he's got a big rifle with a scope and Superman. It looks more like Superman than Superboy in the scope. It really looks like a Kurt Swan Superman. The story is called The Hunter, which is 22 pages. Part 2 is The Fugitive. Editor, plotter, Mort Weisinger. Plotter, scripter, penciler, layouts only, George Papp is the penciler, inker. Milton Snapin is the letterer. This is Roll Call, Chameleon Boy, Invisible Kid, Shrinking Violet, Superboy, Ultra Boy, Karate Kid. The Hunter is Otto Orion and his assistant Jaka, and other inhabitants of the planet Shambhala. Here's some cameo appearances by other Legionnaires, and here is a synopsis for this one. On a jungle planetoid, Simbali, the billionaire financier known as the Hunter, traps and kills a beast called a tiger ram. That night, at a great feast in his castle, the Hunter expresses boredom and dissatisfaction with his existence to his assistant Jakra. He has trapped and killed the deadliest beast in the galaxy, and he craves even more dangerous game. Pulling back a curtain to reveal the plastic heads of the Legion members mounted on a wall, he tells Jakra that the Legionnaires will be his next conquest. Ships from Orion Enterprise land at spaceports all over Earth, each containing vicious animals from the Hunter's private city. When the time is right, the Hunter issues a threat to the Legion by forming the words in the sky. The heroes on duty at the clubhouse, Superboy, Invisible Kid, Chameleon Boy, Karate Kid, Ultra Boy, Shrinking Violet, fly over the city but fail to discover the source of the threat. The Hunter then has his animals released as they swarm over Metropolis. The heroes do their best to stop them. The Hunter appears, offering to halt the stampede if the Legionnaires will surrender to him. Since their efforts to quell the beast has failed, the heroes reluctantly agree and watch in amazement as he stops the creatures with a simple spell. Arriving on Simbali, the Legionnaires are thrown into a jail cell and watch the Hunter, confident of his forthcoming victory, holds a feast of the kill before the following day's event. Later that night, the heroes try to escape, but find that the rundown cell they occupy is escape-proof, and Hunter, despite outward appearances, is really a scientific genius. The following morning, the Hunter outlines his rules to the Legionnaires. He will use any means of hunting he desires to capture the heroes as they make their way through the jungle to a totem pole on on a native sacrificial mountain 20 miles north of their starting point. They need only touch the pole to win safety. Given 15-minute head start, the Legion race into the jungle. At Visible Kid's suggestion, Superboy flies towards the pole to win his own safety. But the hunter, as a falcon-like bird, drop a green kryptonite net around the Boy of Steel, causing him to drop helplessly into a clearing below. The remaining Legionnaires split up to avoid capture, but the hunter defeats them one by one, despite their powers. The lone remaining Legionnaire, Invisible Kid, you go Kyle Norg, eludes scouts patrolling air cars and sensor dogs and reaches the mountaintop where the totem pole stands. He begins climbing only to be blasted by Hunter, hovering close by in an air car. The Hunter orders him to surrender, but he refuses, and the energy barrage increases as he climbs. He finally touches the pole, and at the same moment, an explosion causes the Hunter's ship to crash. The dying Hunter explains to Invisible Kid that his zeal for the thrill of the chase had led him to place a bomb in his belt, which the hero had unwittingly set off by touching the pole. Before he expires, he informs Invisible Kid that his Legion comrades are alive and will be free. Okay, so this is a remake of The Most Dangerous Game. If you're not familiar with it, if you're listening to me, you're older and you're probably. There was actually a version of the movie I saw on Turner Classic Movies with its former Oscar winners, and I thought about watching it the other night. I've been watching some black and white stuff. I watched 2 episodes of the Shazam serial today when I was waiting for a buddy to come over to watch Bad Batch, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. It is a serial, and it is what it is, and I enjoyed it. It's also very nice print. I may post a link. But let's get back to it. I didn't really like it. I didn't really enjoy it. So what I said about Jim Shooter's layouts, maybe I was wrong about Curt Swan. But I'm a big George Papp fan. You've heard me say how much I like him. I like his Green Arrow. I like what I've seen of his. I really think this art is rushed, not well finished, not well... I just don't think it works like his stuff before. I mean, it like a pale comparison to it. And I don't think that's him inking himself, and I really think it's the layouts. I think the layouts are rough, and I just don't think... I think he followed them too closely. That's me guessing. I think Swan being the better penciler, that is a subjective opinion, but in my opinion, Curt Swan's the better penciler, George Papp. That he's able to overcome maybe some of a 15-year-old Jim Shooter's layouts. And that's not a dig at Jim Shooter. He's a kid when he's doing this, so it's amazing enough he's writing these great comic books. And normally I've liked his scripts. This is just, it's a little too much back to the basics and back to the pre-Shooter Swan stuff. I mean, the Hunter could be a better villain, but this is the only time we see him. There is kind of like another version of him that comes in later. I do like the ending with, and I like what the Legion's doing. I like them breaking up to maximize their ability to stay safe, and getting Superboy out of the equation is a good idea in the story. I think get rid of Superboy, take him out. He's Doc Ex Machina sometimes. I like that Jake is wearing a purple tank top, some armbands, and the big letter J on his chest. Sesame After Hours Club, many ways. So, but we see Ultra Boy get zapped by these electronic elephants. These psychic dogs with antenna find Shrinking Violet, or she gets trapped by bugs. Karate Kid smacks them all around, but he eventually gets stuck in it looks like 2 giant pieces of Lego. Ouch. And then Invisible Kid is tracked by everything. He goes shirtless for the end, and he it's got, and I like the ending. I really kind of do. Okay, I don't like the comic as a whole, but there are things I do like, I guess. But I really like the ending. It's a little melodramatic, but it's well, I like Invisible. I like Lyle Norg. I always did. He's still leader right now. I got to figure out when the next leader comes up, and I do want to do an episode about leaders, Legion leaders. I think it'll be a fun exercise. Maybe I'll get Jimbo. I'll get somebody to come on and talk about it. So that's it for this week. It's a little longer than I thought it'd be with these 2 comics. Next week, we start another classic 2-parter. Ron Vidar is back. The Legionnaires are put in prison. It is a well-reprinted 2-parter, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. But this weekend, I don't know what's going to go up. It's either going to be a Saturn Girl JSA, or a Danger Street first issue special, or maybe something completely different. I'm just kind of leaving it open. I'm starting to schedule some stuff in advance. Jimbo's going to come back, and we're going to talk Legion versus teamed up Star Trek. I'm appearing again on Billy's. I had the absolute pleasure to talk to him about Adventure Comics 433, a Spectre comic. We're going to talk about another one, and then with a special issue. And we recorded the final Freedom Fighters episode for World on Fire, and it was amazing as always. And I hope to have him back on to talk some other things. And maybe next time I do Defenders in a few months, because I'm going to wait a few months before I do. I'm going to do my Daring Defenders every few so often, so I just have an episode on a weekend, and I can have an excuse to read. But that's it for this week. And next Tuesday, next on Opal City Confidential, I'll be covering the first 2 issues of Starman Volume 1 with Will Payton. I'm looking forward to it. I've never read it. I'm not looking ahead. I'm going to pull the issues out and put them in a different box so I can get to them easier, because they're in a kind of box on the side. You know, it stacks long boxes. I'm going to pull out that run, put it somewhere else so I can get to them, and I'm going to read the first 2 issues of that. And I'm kind of excited because I haven't read them. I may ask for input from people, and I'll read their input on the show next week. All right, folks, as always, be safe, be smart. Please be kind to everybody, okay? We all need a little kindness in our life. I know I harp on it, but I think it's true, and I need to be reminded of it. That's why I say it 3 times a week. It's like a mantra. And, read some comics. Bye-bye.